Thank you for joining my session. I'm registered psychotherapist practicing in Ontario, and every day I'm trying to share some useful strategies to improve your mental health and evidence-based questions that might help you to increase your quality of life. And today we will be discussing about criticism and how you can use self-criticism in order to understand yourself better and to use it for self-development and even for your growth. So oftentimes I hear from people that they hear critical thoughts about themselves, and even sometimes if even other people are not criticizing them, they are being too harsh to themselves. And today in this session, we will learn how to understand the reasons behind having self-critical thoughts and how we can turn it into motivation, into power. Sometimes even no one around is criticizing you, but there might be a voice inside your mind constantly speaking, you are not good enough, you can't do this, you will embarrass yourself, what will people think? And that voice can be so powerful that people give up even before begin. And many opportunities in the life are lost not because of external barriers, but because of the voice inside. And in psychology, we call this inner critic. And the inner critic is actually a part of the brain. It isn't purely negative. And in the beginning, it usually develops as a protection mechanism. And we have automatic thoughts. All of us, we have that pop up in our minds, and they are generally related with experiences we had in our lives. And we cannot delete them completely, but we can learn to increase awareness of how we are reacting to these thoughts and how they are impacting our mood and behavior. And once we can understand how this is impacting us, it will be easier for us to create space between the thoughts and us, and to achieve the desired outcome, the goal that we want to achieve. For instance, try to remember how you are generally reacting to self-critical thoughts. What are you doing? Are you withdrawing? Are you postponing? Are you avoiding? Or are you doing anything to distract yourself? And how your mood is impacted when your mind starts to talk and criticize yourself that you can't do it. Maybe you are not taking risks, and how you would like to respond instead, what you would like to have instead. If anxiety is left after these self-critical thoughts, would you like to be confident with yourself? Would you like to be peaceful? And how you would like to change your behavior. Once you learn to notice these automatic thoughts, it will be easier for you to take action and to react differently. And so, as I said, the self-critical thoughts can be an automatic thoughts, and if we cannot stop them, we can learn how to respond to them differently. Especially if you grow up being criticized, compared to others, or shamed for making mistakes, your brain learns to protect you by creating a system that says, "Don't risk, don't fail, stay safe." So, in a manner, when you were harshly criticized, your mind learned that this is not a safe space. And maybe you learned strategies that helped you to stay away from criticism. Maybe you were overworking, overstudying. And maybe today these learned behaviors are not serving you anymore. Maybe you are overworking and it makes you to feel exhausted because somewhere in your subconscious you have learned that being criticized is something uncomfortable, and in order to avoid this, you might be using this strategy. So becoming aware of these behavioral patterns would help you to give more insights about the change you want to achieve, how you want to respond to them. Over the time, that system becomes exaggerated. Instead of protecting you, your mind starts to hold you back. Maybe you stop taking risks. Maybe you stop trying anything new. Maybe like your behavioral repertoire becomes too narrowed, and this might cause challenges with your work, with your relationships. So maybe you are too hard on yourself, and this is a powerful statement because some people are not exhausted but by the world, but not what other people are telling them, but they are more exhausted by their own minds. And inner critic often becomes strongest in three areas, maybe in the achievement, your education, your work, relationships, or visibility. So when you approach a meaningful opportunity, the voice might be saying that, what if you fail or you are not good enough? And sometimes people pull back right before success because success brings visibility, and visibility increases the risk of criticism. So you stop maybe speaking in public, you stop attending events, you stop meeting with friends, and inner critic often speaks in familiar phrases. Maybe you have some thoughts, you could have been better, this is not enough, and others are better than you. And over time, the voice becomes so familiar that you stop noticing about it, and you start believing that this is the truth, your truth identity. For instance, if you have thoughts you are a failure, maybe you start to believe that you possess these qualities, that you are not as good as you want to be. And again, it might be keeping you away. You stop taking risk. But there is an important psychological truth is that the inner critic is not you. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings, and it's a simply learned voice in your mind. And I want you to pause for a moment and think about the harshest sentence you say to yourself. Maybe something like, "I'm not capable. I'm not good enough." And now ask yourself the question: who said something like this to you first? Maybe it was a teacher. Maybe it was a parent, maybe it was a peer, and often people suddenly remember where that voice began. And because the inner critic is usually an internalized echo of past experiences. But the good news is that a learned voice can be relearned, and you can learn to recognize these automatic thoughts, and you can learn to respond to them differently. And the first step towards change is awareness. Once you notice that your mind starts speaking, you can create distance from it by saying, "This is my inner critic started to speak." And if the inner critic had much less power over you, what would you like to do differently? Imagine if it wasn't holding you back, or if the thoughts that you have were not so impacting you, how you would like to respond, what would confidence look like for you in real situations? For instance, if this confident version of you showed up in relationships, in the way you are working, or when you are studying, what would be different? What kind of difference it can create? How might your life change, and how it might impact other people around you? When the critic steps back, how would you speak to yourself instead? And what kind of relationship would you like to have with your own mind, with yourself? And if inner critic is no longer controlling you, what would the first thing you would notice tomorrow morning that tells that something has changed? And the second step is understanding its intention. The inner critic usually tries to protect you from shame, but the strategy it uses, it's harsh and ineffective. Maybe in ancient times, for instance, or in your childhood, these thoughts were trying to protect you from possible failure, and your parents maybe wanted you to be successful. However, today this might not be serving you in the best light. Therefore, changing your relationship towards your inner critique and learning new ways of responding can help to carry you towards your goals and to the version of you that you want to achieve. So instead of saying, "I can't do this," try saying, "This is difficult. Seems difficult for me, but I can learn. I can learn new skills how to do it." And research shows that people who practice self-compassion actually grow more, not less. And even though you think that if I will harshly criticize myself, maybe I will be more successful. However, the research shows the opposite, that people who are more self-compassionate and approaching themselves with kindness are making more progress and more successful than those who are very harsh on themselves. So because when you fail, self-compassionate people, they do not destroy themselves. They stand up and try again. And today, try to notice critical sentence that appears in your mind, and every time you catch one phrase, one thought, pause and ask yourself, would I say this to someone I love, and how do I want to respond to it? And each time you will do this, you will create habitual patterns, and each time, the second time, the third time, it will be easier for you to respond differently because you are forming a habit in your behavior. And probably there were some times when you had self-critical thoughts, but you were able to take action to continue. For instance, can you remember a time when inner critic wasn't as loud, and what was different during those moments? What helped you to achieve this outcome? When does the critic tend to disappear or become quieter? What made it possible? What did you do? Which qualities, which features did you use for it to become real? And what are you doing differently in those moments? How this impacted your mood during that time? How did it impact other people around you? And what difference did it make for you? And who are you with when you feel less self-critical? Which feeling was there instead of criticism? Maybe it was a peace. And what was helping you? What was motivating you to take action, even if these challenging feelings or thoughts were there? Once you find the answers for these questions, you can use these resources for yourself to motivate yourself to take action, even in the presence of self-critical thoughts. Remember that sometimes your mind tries to protect you by making you smaller. However, growth often begins the moment you question that voice and you start taking action towards what matters for you, even in the presence of uncomfortable thoughts and feelings. What personal strengths helped you to challenge the inner critic even a little? Who in your life treats you with the kindness you want to learn to give to yourself? And when you succeed despite the critic, what did you do internally to keep going? And what past experience showed that you are more capable than the critic says? So useful when you feel overwhelmed, you can also remind yourself about your resources. How did you cope? What helped you? For instance, despite inner critic being so strong sometimes, how have you managed to keep going? What helps you to get through difficult moments when the critic is loud? And what tells you that you are the stronger than inner critic believes? And also imagining about the future, what difference could it make for you if you could respond to inner critic differently? Which achievements could you achieve? What would be possible for you? What opportunities might you take that you're currently avoiding? And how will you know that your inner critic has become more supportive? If this video was helpful for you, don't forget to subscribe and share it with people who might benefit from it. And what is the sentence your inner critic tells you most often or right now? Don't forget to share. If you have any questions or if you need further support, don't hesitate to reach out. In the next video, we'll explore another interesting topic of learned helplessness and why some people stop trying and how to overcome these challenges. Until the next time, take good care of yourself and see you in the next videos.